What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning back in. Ben Legacy. If you guys are new or if you guys are just stumbling upon my channel, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. It really helps the algorithm, really helps the videos go a little bit further. So, the decision to overturn the affirmative action law in the United States has caused major uproar, major backlash. Some people hate it, some people love it, and it has contained a lot of fiery debates, including this one we're about to check out here, hosted by none other than CNN's former fired sweetheart, Chris Cuomo. So we're going to take a look at the debate between these two pundits, and maybe at the end you can leave a comment. Let me know what you think or what side or position you take in the argument. Let's check it out.
Tennessee conservative talk show host Ben Ferguson and Ellie Mistel, an attorney and a justice correspondent for The Nation magazine. I apologize in advance to tell you what you both know. You are both good debaters, okay? I am not going to police the debate. You guys make your points. I'll push as I want, but let the other guy make his case so that the audience can decide. I apologize for telling you how to do what you both do better than I. Ben, I start with you, which is the core criticism of this is the court just took away what had been put in place to help us become a more perfect union, to help us get more people into positions where they can contribute at the highest levels of this society. How do you feel about that?
I think it's great they took it away, and here's why. They got it wrong, and they didn't realize what the ramifications of affirmative action were going to be. Perfect example of that is the discrimination against Asian Americans who are not getting into top schools and are being discriminated against because of affirmative action. We have seen time after time, and some of the people involved in these lawsuits that were saying, we are not getting a fair shake because you're looking at people solely based on the color of their skin, which is now excluding us from...
This brother right here can barely hold his tongue, like he's chomping at the bit to get in on this.
These opportunities. It's also discriminating against people that just work their tails off, and that should be the merit of getting into a college. You shouldn't get bonus points because or plucked out of a line because of a...
Well, just to rebuttal a little bit about that, yes, merit base is partly about getting good grades, and the best students should succeed. But also there's a caveat to that because not all students have the economic base and the economic foundation to, per se, like say if they go to a college, very underfunded college where they can't, or a high school or a junior college where they don't have college prep courses because they're so underfunded. So there's there's little underlying caveats to these little arguments. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Quota because of the color of your skin. And that's why it was discriminating specifically and harshly against Asian Americans in this country. So it should be celebrated that everyone now walks up and they all have the same chance of getting into school. The deck is not stacked against anyone or in favor of someone else.
Oh, but it is stacked in favor of certain people. It's certainly stacked in favor of legacies. It's certainly stacked in favor of people who have money. It's certainly stacked in favor of people who have connections. And when you look specifically at Asian Americans,
in private schools.
I believe I have written, unlike you, about the discrimination that...
There's the first diss. So it was going cool from here. I didn't see a diss from Ben, but I did see a diss from this professor. Unlike you, that's just, that's a little soft diss. A little shove, a little stick.
Asian Americans face at universities like Harvard.
So I've written a book about discrimination, so you're not the only one that has a book or written something. You might calm down.
The way that the discriminates against Asian Americans is through the use of a personal rating, which is cobbled together between like high school guidance counselors and career counselors. That discriminates against Asian Americans. They found that legacy admissions discriminate against Asian Americans. Geography considerations discriminate against Asian American students because Asian American students are not evenly spread out throughout the country. So when you have 5 kids from Montana and 5 kids from Iowa, but only 18 kids for San Francisco, that is also discriminating against Asian Americans. The thing that the district court, and Ben and Chris, you both both know, the district court is the finder of fact in our constitutional system. The district court said the thing that was not discriminating against Asian Americans was affirmative action. So, Ben, please explain to me why the Supreme Court overturned affirmative action.
Professor, just real quick, you all the way up here. Conversation, Ben and Cuomo. Chris Cuomo is down here. Why is the need, why is there a need to get loud and get rambunctious? Just, throw your points out there, talk calmly, talk coolly, talk collectively, and maybe your point could get through a little bit better.
But didn't overturn all of these other things, legacy admissions, geography admissions, and
now he just filibustering, trying to get as much information in there as he can.
I'll break it down for you. You asked the question. Let me answer the question. So if you understood the subject well, you would understand that private schools are allowed to do things because they're
now, if you understood the subject well, now that's Ben's diss back on this professor right here. So now they starting to exchange jabs. It's 1-1.
Private university, and public universities have different things they're allowed to do and not to do. For example, legacies is not a problem at private universities. It has no bearing on the law.
I didn't know that.
You can say because you went to a university that your child with that legacy in a private university can have a bonus to be able to have a chance to go to the same university that you and your.
Okay, so that may be right. It may be wrong. I haven't fact checked any of this bullshit. They're just going. That sounds right, but let's see what the professor says to combat that. Do private schools have the option to just let people in because of legacy and financial status? I mean, I have no idea. It's a private school. I believe so. I want to believe so. I have no absolute idea. Maybe you guys can leave it in the comments. Let me know.
Private university, and if you understood that, you wouldn't be making this argument. Second issue, though, that you brought up that's just totally wrong is the fact that you say there's these other things.
Ben, I'm going to let you make the case. I just, for the audience's consumption, let's just go one point at a time. I'll come right back to you on it. So the first point is private institution, any kind of club, anything, can make its own rules, Ellie, so it's not apples to apples.
Let's break this down.
Of course,
what do you mean it's no reason to deal with that?
First of all, the implication that I don't understand how admissions work is a little bit offensive. But in any event, the idea, if we're going to say that Harvard,
if you do it, you wouldn't make this argument.
Can use legacy admissions.
Hold on, Ben. Let him make the argument, and just for the record, for everybody out there,
can they? Can they not?
He understands the law incredibly well. He's a justice correspondent. He knows his case better than Ben or I are going to understand it. But his arguments are subject to their own cogency, and you decide that.
This boy, Chris, oh my God. You're supposed to be a non-biased reporter, and here you go taking sides already, saying that the professor is right. He even knows more. Come on, Chris. Have more credit to give to yourself. Like, have more balls as a man. I mean, you seriously, bro? You already gave this dude. It's ridiculous. And this is why some people just can't have truth in debates, because the moderator who's supposed to be moderating is supposed to be an unbiased asshole, but instead he's just being an asshole, a biased one.
But if we're going to let Harvard
and
make
it
its
clearly
own decision
shows
about legacy admissions, then surely we should also listen to Harvard and other university officials when they say that diversity is an important goal for the school, that diversity is a compelling state interest for the school, and that affirmative action is the best way to make diversity happen. And again, if we just look at the facts, Ben, we know from the experience in California, from the experience in Michigan, states that banned affirmative action, we have people from those schools saying that in order to have a diverse class, they need affirmative action. So instead of listening to you, I kind of want to listen to the experts who are actually involved in putting together new classes at universities.
All right, let me say this. First of all, just because you're an attorney, I want to be on record. You guys are wrong 50% of the time. Every time you go into court, half the time you guys are wrong. So let's not act like that makes you an expert. Okay, second thing I want to say is
that statistic, did you know that 80% of statistics are made up on the spot?
Well,
Go ahead,
that
Ben.
one's not, because there's a winner and a loser, so somebody's getting their ASS
But
kicked
doesn't
in
mean
court
that
every
doesn't
time.
mean
So
that you're wrong.
say you're an
It shows that
expert
you're not a
'cause you're
lawyer.
an
Doesn't mean you're
attorney.
wrong.
Well,
Make your next point.
A judge says you're wrong. A judge says you're
No,
wrong.
he doesn't
and you
say
lose
you're
a case.
wrong.
Second point.
No, he
Sure he does. You have a
decides
winner and a
what the
loser.
law covers in that
This is
situation.
why
Doesn't
people don't
mean
like lawyers, by the way. Just for the record, this is why.
until they need one.
Chris gets bothered right here. Chris gets real shooken up right here. You can see.
So back to
You can see Chris Cuomo's face. He gets real shooken up right here. I love it when he says, "Hey, you guys are horrible. You guys." That's why no one likes lawyers. Chris Cuomo, his face, his feelings get hurt. There's his face. His whole facial expression changed. This dude already looked mean already.
to the point I was saying about
Greasy
this
face.
is another problem with admissions and affirmative action. If you continue down this road where we decide that one person is going to have an easier road than another person, it also turns into a problem with perception, and also it creates racism, because then it undermines people that are doing amazing things on their own merit. Because the question becomes, as Clarence Thomas was talking about in the decision today, people wonder, are you here because you made it, or are you here because of affirmative action?
Speaking of Clarence Thomas, oh, Mr. Clarence Thomas. I mean, I wish I could say what I really want to say, but YouTube will definitely ban me. But y'all already know what's up with Clarence Thomas. This boy was definitely one of the first beneficiaries of affirmative action. Yes, he got into Yale because he was black, albeit he had the grades and everything. But they can't discriminate against every black guy, can they? So they let his black dark meat in. He didn't have nothing to say about it then. But I guess this decision, because the decision was 6-3 from the U.S. Supreme Court, he was definitely one leading the way. This was a decision to let the world know, hey, I didn't make it off affirmative action. So he's proving it right here. So even though he did, he may believe it deep down, or he may not believe it. This solidifies that Thomas doesn't believe that, hey, he doesn't believe about he got through because of affirmative action. But anyway, he's I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. If you benefited from it, bro, and then you shoot it down, it's hypocrisy.
Action or a quota. And in America, our Constitution is colorblind, and the law should be colorblind. And we should look at students based on their individual.
It's colorblind right now. It wasn't always colorblind. The Constitution, that is. I remember where, black people were 3/5 of a man. It wasn't colorblind at all points. So that's why when black Americans and certain people put so much stock into the Constitution of the United States, I was considered a piece of property when the shit was incepted. Now all of a sudden, you want this piece of property. This piece of property has rights. It can walk. It can talk. It's telling you that, hey, I want a good living and equal rights for myself. How far do you think it is to come back from that type of thinking and that type of, where the whole world pretty much, especially U.S., kind of perceives you in a way of property? So I don't put too much stock in the Constitution. Yeah, has some basic inalienable rights that we all have. I'm free not because you tell me I'm free, motherfucker. I'm free because God endowed that on me. And I'm free because, my soul and my creator created me as a free being. Not locked up in chains.
Accomplishments, and not give a leg up to somebody solely because somebody arbitrarily chose that this race needs more help than another race.
Damn, he
By the
ugly.
way, that whole
He
idea
ugly.
of one race.
So right there we go. There's the decision, 6-3 majority. As you guys know, Trump appointed 3 of these justices in there: Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and also Neil Gorsuch. Those are the 3 conservative justices that Trump had put onto the bench. Sotomayor, who dissented, and also KBJ. Sotomayor was picked by Obama, I believe it was. KBJ is picked by none other than the most horrible president ever. I think even worse than Trump is Biden. And the other people, I don't know who anointed them or whatever the hell. But Thomas is the most senior on the court. He's, I think, 75 years old, so he's the oldest. And John Roberts, I believe, he is the one who basically is the senior or chief justice, I believe, something like that. So
needs more help
63
than
though.
another race is
Majority
racist
wins.
on its own
Majority
merit. The
rules.
idea that we should be
It is what it is.
oh,
You gotta accept it.
Yeah, you need more help to get into Harvard. You can't make it on your own. That is
the
racist.
point is made. Let Ellie respond, and then I have a closing thought for each of you. Go ahead.
The idea that the Constitution is colorblind is simply wrong on its face. It wasn't colorblind in 1787 when it allowed for slavery to happen. It wasn't colorblind when it passed the 14th Amendment.
Just what I just said.
Talked about was explicitly designed to overcome the racism of the past. So it wasn't colorblind in those situations. But to your point, I want to give you some credit here because the Thomas point that you made, that's a real point. All right. Clarence Thomas is not wrong about this point. The fact that affirmative action exists definitely opens up black people like Thomas, like me, people who have gone to elite universities, for the criticism that we don't deserve our credentials because of affirmative action. And let me tell you something, it sucks. It sucks every time some bozo who paid $8 for Twitter questions my credentials because of affirmative action. But the difference between me and Clarence Thomas is that I take my hurt feelings out on the racists who believe that, not on the affirmative action policy that is designed to break the racists' hold on power. That's the difference between me and Thomas, not the experience that we've had.
All right.
So I want to ask you a real question. Can I ask one?
You can ask the question, but you guys can talk to each other about it later. What's your question?
All right, my question is this. As a former college athlete, should we have an affirmative action on the field where we decide that there's going to be X number of players that play basketball that are white, that are Asian, African-American on the football teams? Would that be a good policy, or would that be incredibly stupid?
Now, that is pretty... That's pretty judgmental. That's pretty prejudiced in itself, asking that. So what are you asking, Ben? That only black people can jump high and run the fastest and we're the most athletic, which most of us are. But the fact that he's saying it lets him know that, hey, these are that prejudices and biases and how people view people and stereotypes are well in effect with this guy if they're beneficial to the subject at hand. But if they're not, then he wouldn't care about sports. He doesn't care if there's a certain amount of Asians, Mexicans in basketball or football. I highly doubt that he does. He doesn't want his football team to be wrecked. It wouldn't be as productive. That's the fact of the matter. So this is about productivity. In which I said before, not all people are created equal. Not all people have the same damn resources. But they can excel to a certain amount, to a certain point higher than to where they are. And that's like the ceiling for them. So once they reach that ceiling, left upon others to help facilitate other avenues where the person could be successful. And I don't mean give them a break. I mean, just give them equal opportunity. And this is about cultures and different types. You know, if everybody had the same statistics and the same numbers and, you know, the same academic background, which I ain't gonna lie, most of them are Asians. Asians do better than pretty much most races in school. So they're doing better. Does that mean they get to fill up all the schools before any white or black or Mexican person had like a less test score or something like that? No, not really. You definitely need some mix. You need some mix in there. It doesn't matter if they're green, purple, or red.
Do you think it's good to let people into college because they can jump higher or run faster or play badminton well,
You
as
didn't
opposed to
answer
the
my
merit
question.
that you
I
allegedly
said
talk about?
mandates.
You're
I said
asking
mandates. Should we mandate
it's
affirmative
not
action
mandated.
on
It is
football
one
teams?
factor among many. Like, open your eyes to the whole world and see
this
that
is why
race is
I know
only
you're
one
making it
factor
up,
among
because you
many.
can't
And
answer
again,
that
that's
basic
not me
question,
saying
because
it.
you know it will
That's
blow
the
up your
people who
entire
make the
argument.
decisions at the universities saying it.
And I proved my point with your not
people-
answering that question.
I did
The
answer your
people-
question.
Hey, thank you for watching.
Wow.
Please go to newsnationnow.com.
Very, very intense. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Till next time, I'll holla at y'all. Peace.